Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever you are. Welcome to this webinar where we today will go in and look at how to work with Dynamicweb PIM. Today we will look into how to use the workflow mechanism, how to enrich products, and how to set up queries for validations and so on. I will be your speaker of today. And what I'll speak about is all around the PIM module in our Dynamicweb all-in-one platform. The agenda, the next 30 minutes, will be we look into the query definition and how to use. We will look into the dashboard and how to use that and define widgets. We will look into workflow stage, how to set up and how to use in best practice. We will look at product enrichment, both on single and multiple enrichment of products. And then finally, I will bring you to a journey through the product enrichment process seen in Dynamicweb PIM. So let's begin. Uses of queries. Now, some of you know about the query setup in Dynamicweb, but the queries is a part of the navigation part of the Dynamicweb PIM. Now, typically when you click on your PIM module, you get on the left-hand side the navigation panel. In that panel, you have access to both the query areas, you have access to the product structures, you have access to channels and channels feeds, and so on. So all navigations around products in your PIM solution is placed in this left panel. Now, the query definition we'll be focusing on is quite simple to work with. It's built up with where you define a query, where you can set up expressions. And expressions means that you can define fields you want to filtering on, and you could type in your values or selected values you want to search on, and how you want things to be showed. Now, if we look at this window here, you can see this area, the expression area. I have defined fields for a specific area. I have a specific group or type of products, and it should be in a state for ready for enrichment. And below there, I have made a sorting based on my update value. Below, I can define fields. So that means not only you can define your expression to the query, you also can define when you have this resort list of products and you click on the product, you will default get these fields specified down here. That means you can set up a query to show specific fields on products and also languages. Now, the queries can also be set up for validations. So in this example, I've set it up saying that we have products that are active, that means they are published. We have products that are in a specific shop. And I'm making validation on, and these 5 fields should, if they are empty, or if the value are 0, equal or less than 0, then I want these products to be shown in the list, because I have to look at them, I have to fill in these fields. So a quite simple way of using the queries for making validations on specific fields values. Now, queries are also used for the dashboards to show the result on your personal dashboard. So basically, if you look at the dashboard, you see these lists and count widgets, where you say, in this example, the translation, there are 24 products waiting for translation. Well, this 24, the amount of 24 is coming from a query. So this is just another way of showing that the query behind this widget have a result of 24 products. And if you click on it, you will of course go to these 24 products and I can see which products they've been shown in the list. Now, dashboards can also be defined with different coloring of your counting widgets. So if you want to be aware of, you can see these yellow, red, and green is a visualized way of indicating that you should do something with these products that are behind this widget. Or maybe in the list view, you can define which columns do you want to show on the products you have in the list. So again, a quite simple way of setting up and get a quite good overview of what is the status of the products I'm responsible for. There are different type of widgets, and they can be used in different areas and different usage. So just go on and try them. Now let's try to go to a live setup to show the queries and show the widgets on it. Now you can see my dashboard here. And if I go down to my area, you can see on my left-hand side, this is my navigation window. If I open the warehouses, you can see I'm basically running with 5 warehouses. And in this warehouse I've been focusing on today, I have this structure of products. Of course, you can go down to this structure and find your specific product. But if you are working, or the company are working in a workflow-based workflow-based enrichment, you can define queries to be using these different stages a product can be in. So if I take the newly arrived products, basically the one that are behind this widget, you see that I have 16 products waiting, just arrived from maybe the ERP system or whatever integration you have. There could be products waiting for technical enrichment. So in this case, I have this one, technical details for bikes, waiting for enrichment. And if I click on it, I only have the English language and these fields. Because on this query, I have defined that I only want to look at products that are in my bikes and equipment, PIM bikes and equipment. I only want to look at type of bikes, and it should be in a workflow state saying ready for enrichment for technical. You can also see that I have made a sorting by the brand and the product number. And I have defined that I only want to show these fields as default when I open the product card, and I only want to show the English language. So therefore, when I have this list, you can see my sorting is done on my brand. So my brands are grouped together, and the second sorting is on my number. And if I open one of the products, I will just see my fields I have defined as my default fields. So quite easy and quite fast, I can go in, make my changes, do the work, and save it. If I need more fields, I can just go up and select them, or you can add them to your query. Compared to the marketing query, where you can see I have a list of different type of products. I have bikes, I have clothing, I have gloves, and so on. I can look at these and look at the query. In this case, I'm just looking at my workflow state, and of course, it should be in my PIM area. I just make a sorting on my branding, and I have specified these fields and these languages. So therefore, if I, from this query, select the product, I will see that I have these 4 languages shown on my product card, and I show these fields that are typically fields maintained from the marketing department. So, as you can see, it's quite easy to set up queries and quite easy to define different queries that maybe should be used in the workflow. And again, these queries are behind these widgets. So depending on how I want to build up my dashboard, I can define that the result should be shown maybe as a counting widgets or maybe as a list widgets. And if I want to show maybe this widget with the publishing with 7 products, and say, well, there are 7 products in here, but visual, I want to be more, or it should be more visible if there are products waiting to be published. So I say I want to change my threshold to 5 instead of 10. And because of that, it will now be yellow because there are more than 5 products in this list. Or if I would say that, well, if it passes my threshold on 7, maybe in my second threshold, it will just switch to red. So therefore, you can, with your counting widget, define colors that will visualize for you that you have to do something with these products that are in this list or behind this widget. So finally, I also showed that we could use queries for validating fields. Now let's take this one. Show me that there are these products that are missing some of these fields I have defined in my query. So basically, I build up a query now saying that this should be active. That means it should be published. It should be in my my PIM area, and it should be published to these channels I have defined down here. And I validate on these fields: brand, weight, and prices. So basically, if I go into one of these products, I have defined these fields I'm validating on. You can see that I have my brand name, I have my price, but the weight is 0. So therefore, that's not legal. I need the weight into my channels. So I say this bike have a weight on 11 kilo. I save it. And as you can see, scan date CFR race is now gone from my list, because I've now fulfilled the products I'm validating on. So now that they are gone from my list. A simple way of making validation of your product fields. Now let's go back to the PowerPoint and continue with workflows. I have mentioned a little bit about workflows now, but now I'll go more in detail with workflows. Now, workflows can be very useful in most of the companies that install a PIM solution. Now, the way of setting up the workflows in Dynamicweb PIM is also quite simple. Now, you have in your settings below the PIM node, you have a node called workflow. In there, you can build up all kind of workflow structures you want to use in your workflow enrichment. So basically, you build up a workflow structure based on specific states products can be in for a specific type of products. And you can in the workflow say that if you are in this stage of the workflow, what can you go back? Which workflow states can you go back to, or which workflow states can you put it in front of you? You can also specify notifications. That means when a certain product goes into a specific workflow, that can be sent out emails to a group of people, or maybe to just a single person, that there are now a product in this workflow for his or her work. So the workflows can be defined in the structure. So if you're working with bikes, you are using the bike workflow. If you're working with clothing, you're using the clothing workflow. Now let's go live again, and let me show how that works. Now, if I go into my settings and go to my PIM area, into my workflow, you can see that I have 2 workflow groups. Now I have a workflow for bikes. The bikes are more complex in the enrichment processes because there are more people around it. There may be people that should enrich the technical details about bikes and so on, so on, so on. So in this case, I have these 8 states on a workflow. And if I go to my marketing, you can see that if I stay in my marketing stage on a product, I can go back to my enrichment or to product manager, or I can go to the next steps in the workflow for approval or maybe for publishing. So again, you can define which stage you should be able to switch to from the current state. Now, if I go into my workflow for clothing, you can see it's more simple. There are only 4 stages, so quite more simple than the bikes. Now, these groupings of workflows or setting of workflows can then be attached to my group structure. So if I go to my warehouse, bikes and equipment, and I look at the bikes, this is that type of products, I can define on this structure that I want to use the workflow for bikes. And of course, if I go to my clothing, I have defined and used workflow for clothing. Now, let's make a fast through. I simulate now, I'm a technical person. I'm logged in with a username. You can see I'm limited what I can use in my with my login. I have another dashboard. I have a dashboard that's showing me how many products are waiting for technical enrichment for bikes or for clothing and validation and so on and so on. And if I go to my workflow, I see these products waiting for technical enrichment on bikes. Again, it's built on a query. I can go to my product, open the product. I only show the fields that are specified on the query. I only have my English language because of my user permissions. Now I can make the change saying, well, it's not 27 gears, it's just 21 gears. And change it to be ready for marketing. And I save it. And there you can see this product is now disappeared from my list of products because I have finished it, make the changes, and send it to marketing. Now, if I switch to marketing, I simulate that here, I now see the product in my list here. That was the one down here, scan date, CFR. And I click on it. Then in that query, I just look at the product and can see that the product are now fulfilled with text and so on. But I'm only focusing on the marketing fields. I'm not focusing on the technical fields because they are already enriched by another person. When I'm finished here, I can say, okay, I'm finished. It's ready for approval. So I send it to approval. And then it disappears from my list of products, and the people that should make approval can go in and make the validation of it. And of course, if the approval should be done by maybe a non-technical person, there are the possibility to make this preview. So the product itself will be shown in one of the channels set up, in this case, a repeater setup. So the whole content can be shown in a published way, and the users that should make the approval could switch between the Danish language or the English language or the French language or whatever they should make the approval on. So that's a way of using workflows. Of course, that can be more complex to set up at the customer side, but just to give you an idea of how you can use the workflows combined with the queries. Now let's go back to the PowerPoint again and take a look into the enrichment tools that are in Dynamicweb. Now, in Dynamicweb, there are different ways of enrich the product content. This one is showing how you can enrich single products. So you just open the product card, you have all the languages, you have, well, all languages are defined as columns, and you can make your changes, enrichment, you can save it, you can toggle to the next product in the list, and so on, so on, so on. Now, if you want to make multiple enrichment, there are possibility to make this a multiple edit. That means you have a selection of products and you can make this multiple edit, and then you can just toggle down in the list of products and make the changes on these specific fields. Now there are possibility also to make a bulk edit. Bulk edit means that you can have a list of products. You can open your bulk edit editor. You can select the languages you want to update. You can select your specific variants, if so, or products. You can then specify the fields you want to update and put the values into it. When finished, you can say save, and all the products that have been selected on the specific language will be updated with these values. Finally, and basically, if you want to make offline enrichment, maybe if you have a bureau for translation, you can then export the selected products to an Excel sheet, send it out to a bureau for translation, and get it back and just read it into the PIM solution again, and all fields on the correct products will be updated from that Excel sheet. So basically, there are to show these different ways of enrich the products. Now, what I will do now is that I will bring you to a journey into a product enrichment process, where I will show you how you can enrich new arrived products, maybe with supplier feeds, combine the products, see the workflows automatically will change depending on where you are in the stage, and so on and so on. So let's go back. Again, if I look at my dashboard, you can see I have these 16 newly arrived products. So they are maybe automatically created from the ERP system with the integration there or whatever. Now, we have some suppliers in my setup that can deliver some product feeds with details, informations, technical informations, or whatever. So to simulate that, I have set up an integration to the supplier, this one, where I simulate an update with information from the supplier feed. So I run this update. Sorry. And go back to my Pro informations. What would happen now is that my products will automatically be updated where the feeds from the supplier match the key on the products. In this case, you can see now that instead of 16 products in my newly arrived products, I now only have 5. But I have 11 products waiting for enrichment. And that's because these 11 products fit the supplier feeds. That means all the information we get from the supplier feed were updated on these products. You can see the name have changed where all the other names have a new in front. Now I have removed the new. And of course, in the product itself, I have updated the teaser text, description, and other fields on these products. Again, just to simulate that could be a supplier feed. And after we have received it from or updated with the supplier feed, I automatically change the workflow to be, instead of newly arrived, we have now updated it with the supplier feed, and now it's ready for enrichment. And that enrichment could be that I select all the products, export it to my Excel sheet. I take these 4 languages. I take these fields because I want to send it to a bureau for translation. I maybe take away EIN number. It's maybe not necessary for the translation bureau. I make the export and generate this Excel sheet. So the Excel sheet now contains these products with the name of them, with the different languages, and the English content on my teaser text and description. So basically, they could just start translation the fields there or fill out the fields for the different languages. Now, of course, I have prepared this session a little bit. So I go to my import Excel and select the Excel sheet I have just received, or simulate I have just received from my bureau, and select this one. You see I have my 4 languages. I have the fields I have selected it when I export it. The green check mark indicates that the content of the fields match the field type in the PIM system. So everything looks good. Now I don't want to import the English language. It's only the Danish, Dutch, and French. I make an import and close it. And when I now open the products, you can see it's now translated not only English, that was my basic language, but it's now translated to Danish, to German, to French. Well, quite a fast way of get these products updated. And if, depending on how you're using images or attaching images, we could also go in and say that images should come from a name convention. So I can just go in and say these images should be put into my product. And here it's uploaded. I get it in the list. And when I go back to my products again, I go to enrichment, you will then see where the images match this product number, it will automatically fit to the product. So basically, this one have now an image on it. It could also be that we need to combine some of these products. It could be that these Terry saddle with different illustrations on should be combined to one product with variants. You can then select them and say, okay, these 4 products are basically the same product. They're just different illustrations on. So I can select them, make a combine, create it as a family, press next, take the content into my master from this one and save. So basically what's happening here is that I collect these 4 products into one product, and the 4 physically products are now 4 variants. I can then change the name up here and say this, and this is 4 pieces. Save it. And in this case, you can see I did not match the images. I maybe want to add images to it. Just open the field and say, I want to add images for this one, and this should be Terry images. There we are. And I have a group image for the 4 products. Take this one. And basically what I do now is that I say this image should be used on all products that do not have its own image. So basically all variants have this one now. But I maybe want to switch all of the variants to each specific variant image. So therefore, I maybe take this one and say this is this one. And then it will replace the main image. And in the same way, if I have an event image, I can take this one, say I want to add this event image. And if I do not specify event images on my variant or my languages, it will be shown on all languages and all variants. Again, as images, as videos, and so on, is also an important part of the enrichment of your products. So when you're finished with the products and they all have the images on it and they're ready for the publication, you could basically just go in, select it, and say, we now want to publish all these products to a channel. And basically, I have access to these 4 channels. One of them is my web shop. So I maybe put them into my campaign on my web shop, but I also want to distribute it to my channel network. And then I have a channel called Partner Shops in Europe, and I want to be placed in there in my news area. And as you can see, it could be other shops, other channels, Amazon, or whatever. So I just say save and close. Now these products are published into these channels. Basically, I can take up here, show my partner shop channels in the news, and there you see my list. And if I run export to my channels, I can take it here. So this one is just asking the channel for give me all products that are in that specific channel. And then you can distribute this information, or your partners can hook into this feed and maybe get a format for Magento, Sitecore, or whatever e-commerce solution your partners are dealing with. So basically, that was a journey from newly arrived products, get automatically enriched from supplier feeds, get them published, and extract them to a channel or maybe to the partner or to the e-commerce shop. So that was these 30 minutes. If you want to know more, you can go into our websites, look in there. You have access to our doc sites, or you can go in and look at our webinars recordings on our website as well. And hopefully You will join the next webinar in Dynamicweb PIM that will be held January the 23rd. And in there, we will talk about channels and feeds. Thank you and have a good day.